Coach Mercer will take your questions.
Softball was in a tight spot 2 weeks ago. With the regional, they've won 6 straight against the hardest schedule they can do, and they've pretty much put themselves into postseason. How do you make sure, because you're still in a great spot for postseason, how do you make sure to not get discouraged now? Because it's the best team you're going to face down the stretch. The rest of the teams you face have struggled a lot. So how do you make sure to not let this get in your head and you take care of business down the stretch to cement that postseason bid like softball?
Well, I think it starts a year ago. It starts 2 years ago, right? When you decide to start coaching, there's a couple of different reasons guys start coaching. One, and for I think most guys, you start coaching because you enjoy kids and you want to help and you want to develop them and you want to set them up with a really good foundation and you enjoy investing, right? Like, it's like being a teacher. You like that. And so my whole family were teachers. Grandparents, aunts and uncles, moms and dads, wife, they're all teachers. And so I think when you set the precedent in growth and in development and in helping guys get better and understanding the big picture, and life's hard sometimes, I think that helps you when things don't go right, because the reality is things don't always go great. And truth be told, sometimes water finds its level a little bit. We've won a ton of games, we've had a lot of success, we've pulled a lot of games out that you kind of sit back afterwards and you're like, wow, I'm not sure how we pulled some of those games out. And so that's part of life. So I think what you say to those guys is the same thing you say every day. I thought we came out and we played with we competed like crazy today. We fought like crazy. We had great energy. We had great toughness. Like, we were resilient. We kept responding. Like, we did all the things that you want to do as a team. It just didn't go our way. And so when you talk to the team, you just tell them the same thing you told them, every day before that for the last year, 2, 3 years, however long those guys have been in the program. And you just tell them, okay, we have an opportunity here to have a really tight feedback loop. We got beat. They were better than us for 3 days. Their coaches were better than our coaches. Their head coach was better than me for 3 days. Their players were better. Like, they were just better for 3 days. But there's going to be a lot of information, a lot of feedback, and a really tight feedback loop. And so we have finals this week, since you don't have a game. You have a chance to go in this week and work on the things that you need to work on. We were better offensively today, but we still left probably 3 or 4 runs on the board. We weren't good enough offensively this weekend. We did adjust over the course of the weekend and got better, like you normally do. When you see good pitching, you get better over the course of the weekend. We obviously weren't good enough on the mound, and some of that was we didn't execute well enough, and some of that was like they're just playing as well as they can play, and the wind's blowing out 20 miles an hour. So you just encourage them to keep doing the same thing that they've been doing. That's made them a really good team, and that's going to allow them to continue to compete. I've been on teams that peaked early in the season, right, and that didn't have the stamina to withstand the kind of the rigors of the late season run and the postseason run. And the good thing about having a young, talented team is that you have a chance to keep growing and learning and getting better. It's the first time they've really been in the fight like this, the first time you've really been like mano a mano against another top 25 or 30 team with a lot on the line. You have a lot to learn and grow from that. So that's my mindset, that's my mentality, is the same learning and growth and opportunities to get better that you have when you win. You actually probably have more when you lose, right? You probably have more of that. And so just go back to work. If it was a lack of effort, like I said on Friday, I thought we got punched in the mouth, and I didn't think we responded great from an emotional standpoint on Friday. And I told the guys that, and I came in here and said to everybody on Friday, we did fine today. Like, we responded, we came back, you come back and tie the game. Devin Taylor is awesome, hits 2 homers. The guys are competing like crazy. We just didn't finish it off. You just go back and get better this week. So that's all I told them, and that's all I'll tell them this week.
Can you just expand on that though, with the pitching, that it doesn't get discouraged? Because every person has hit their pitching hard this year, every single team. So how do you make sure these pitchers have been really strong, just don't get discouraged going forward? Because it was rough for them, but I mean, there's no pitcher that hasn't had it rough with me. So how do you make sure it doesn't get in their heads when they go to Northwestern, and they face a lineup that's not this one, that's not
right.
quite as good?
Well, as long as they don't wear Maryland jerseys, we should be okay. No. You're an athlete. You're a high-level athlete. You're playing baseball at Indiana. You won't be after this weekend, but you've been a ranked top 25 team. Like, you've beat great teams. You'll be fine. Like, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and go back to work. Like I said last night, the world's not going to fall off its axis. So it's like you pick up and move on. So I know that sounds like there's not an awesome answer, but it is what it is. Like, you got your butt kicked. You got your butt kicked before. Get back up off the mat and go back to work. So, it just there's no solution besides that. Like, you just gotta be tough. You just gotta be tough. But like, so is everybody else when they go to work every day, right? So it's like people get fired from their jobs. People have they lose loved ones. Like it's hard. Life's hard. You can't be a baby about it. You don't just get to like cry over it and like, well, I throw in the towel and like I quit and this is stupid and I don't like it anymore. You just pick up and move on. So that's the great thing about sports. It mirrors life, right? That's why athletes go on to be super successful when they move on past sports. That's why they run businesses and make buku money, and because they're tough. And they just got to be tough enough to move on. Right? Have a short-term memory. What is it from Ted Lasso? It's like with the goldfish, right? Be the goldfish. Have a 10-second memory. Just move on, right? Learn, adjust, grow, like, and move on.
You've been you've been coaching in the Big Ten for now 5 years. Where does that sort of series performance by Maryland rank among that?
I've been playing baseball for, what am I, 37? We have to go back beyond my Big Ten time. They just played great. Like they played great. I don't know. I've not seen it before, and they haven't done it before. Rob and I are good friends. Like I talked to him before the game and in the last couple of days, and kind of said, he asked me what the best team we played this year, and I said, well, prior to playing you guys or including the last day or two, and he kind of chuckled and. He just said, no, we haven't played. We've either hit, we haven't pitched, we pitched and haven't hit. But he's like, we were always capable of putting it together, but we just haven't put it together. And I said, well, I'm really glad you guys waited till this weekend to put it all together. So, I mean, you knew they were playing pretty well when they scored 45 runs on Tuesday and Wednesday. You had a pretty good feeling that all of a sudden they'd kind of figured it out. And they had some draft guys, some really high level draft guys that I'm sure early in the season, as sometimes you have high level draft guys, they sometimes get off to a slow start and a little pressure, and all of a sudden the preseason accolades, kind of all those things happen. I'm sure those things happen a little bit with every team, and I'm sure that happened a little bit. But they played great this weekend. They knew what they had to go do, and they were ready for it. And but you're not going to play anybody that plays any better than that, right? We've been all over the country. We've played everybody, and sometimes that's just the way it goes. But I also told our guys, like, we've also swept 4 weekends. Right. So at the same time, I mean, we've swept 4 weekends, and I'm sure you leave guys kind of like that going. What more do we have to do to win a ball game here or there? It didn't go our way. So, yeah, they played about as well as you could play.
Would you say this is?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Would you say this is kind of reminiscent of the lumps you guys took at the early part of the season?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, there were times that early in the season that you were able to kind of like recover 1 or 2. Like it is like, I'm not gonna. I mean, I'll be frank. It's a little bit different when it's in succession like that. But yeah, that's why it's so important as a coach for you to go out and play against really good teams and expose you guys, because you're preparing them. Maybe not like this, but you're going to have a bad weekend. It's going to happen. Like there's something going to go wrong. You're going to have injuries. You're going to lose games. You're going to have a bad week. And so if you don't ever expose guys to that, then they're not able to respond once they have it later on. And if you look at them, they played, we played a hard preseason schedule. They played a really hard preseason schedule. And so, they won and lost and kind of went through it a little bit, and they've come out the backside of that obviously better for having done that, and we will too. So, yeah, they're good. We've played other really good teams, and it reminds you of those things a little bit, but we also won a lot of games there afterwards and played really well there afterwards. And you saw us offensively. We got our butt kicked the last 2 days, and we got up, right? We got up against a guy that statistically was their best guy and had by far our best day and had opportunities to probably put a few more push a few more across there. So, it makes you better doing that. And, being back in league play, it also hardens you a little bit more too, because, when we played 6 or 8 games, was it probably 6 games, 7 games outside of league play, and then all of a sudden you get right back into it and you catch guys. Dean had a week off. McCoy had his best outing of the season, or stuff-wise, I mean. And so you run against those guys. So it hardens you, it makes you better, and you'll be fine.
On Friday, you talked about having difficulties in the eight hole, and you made an adjustment to the lineup today. And Hunter Jesse had in the 9th hole actually had a pretty good day.
Yeah.
What is he doing to kind of come out of his struggles?
Yeah, brilliant strategy on my part, wasn't it? I put the guy that got on base 4 times. No, Hunter's been working really hard. Yeah, I outthought that one. Hunter's been working really hard, and he's been in here the last few weeks. We've spent a lot of time together, and so obviously Hunter had a great year last year. Really talented offensive player, decided to come back to school, and he came off of the hamate injury, and his swing got sideways in the fall, and he wasn't as good in the fall. Then he kind of got it right, and then he hurt his wrist like week 3. And so then he misses time, and it's like he just hasn't been quite right. And he just kind of lost his swing a little bit through that. And he's a very good player, he's a very talented player, and has been a catalyst for us offensively for the last year and a half. But he kind of got in between with some things, and not without going into like the nuance of all of it, like he just had too much length in it. And so we had to change. If you watch, like we talk about being perpendicular when your front foot lands, his hands were so far behind him, and he kind of lost his load. So it was like a lean into load, and he lost his hands. So it was like way too much length. You're looking at like 50-60% whiff on fastballs, right? You just couldn't turn around a fastball, and then he'd have to cheat to get the fastballs, and then couldn't make good swing decisions after that. And so the last like week to 10 days, I wasn't necessarily mad at him when I took him out. It's like, okay, we have to work on this. And until we start getting in the right direction, I'm not helping you by throwing you in there and doing those things. And so he's been very coachable. And kudos to him for being an upperclassman who was our team offensive MVP last year, hit 370, and all of a sudden your head coach comes in and says, like, we need to redo your whole swing in the middle of the Big Ten season. And he was willing to do it, so he pulled his hands forward a little bit, changed his load sequence a little bit. And I just told him, like, it's going to take time. And obviously he's frustrated. He's like, well, I want to help right now, and I want to do it right now. I said, I get it. And I thought he was really trending right yesterday, where he didn't swing and miss. He put 5 balls in play, had a base hit, a single in the 6 hole. And I told him after the game, I was like, you're really close. If you'll just hang with it, I really think you're going to start to go. And then he went out there today, and he gets hit by a pitch, walked twice, and he doubles. And when guys start taking free bases, they're making better swing decisions. He wasn't making good swing decisions, and because he had too much length, and you have to kind of cheat the fastballs, right? And so he was able to do that. And I, to your question earlier, or he's like, that's why I told the guys afterwards. I said, okay, so you look at Hunter Jesse. I said, Hunter, how much better were you today than you were last week? Well, I'm a world better than I was last week. Okay. Carter Matheson, how much better were you this week than you were 2 weeks ago? Well, I was way better this week than I was 2 weeks ago. Okay, so if you take that blueprint and you just apply that across the board as a coaching staff, as a team, how do we get better this week and be able to take the next step forward? Because we have a ton of information that's got given to us and a ton of feedback, and we've kind of talked about it. We've won a lot of close games where it was like, that wasn't beautiful, and sometimes you're going to have to, like, we're going to have to be better if you want to win at a higher level. But from a coaching standpoint, do you go in and say, hey, great job winning the game, you've won like 8 in a row, but we're going to have to like make some dramatic changes. So Hunter was really good. He made those physical changes. He made way better swing decisions, didn't swing and miss at fastballs, didn't have to cheat, and then was able to go out and have a really good day, which is it's a huge shot in the arm for us. If we could get him back a little higher in the lineup, get some length there after the middle. Carter had a really good weekend, and Josh Pine's been swinging it better. So we really have, the elements there that we need to. We needed to see, again, we can use the spin ball in here, and we can do live at bats, and I can throw. I actually pitched in college before I hit in college, so I can still get out there and spin it a little bit and help out. But it's good to see really good arms. It's good to see good arms. It makes you better, and we got better right away after seeing 2 really good arms. And you watched us go out today, and we were pretty good offensively for the most part, and gave ourselves a chance. So that's kind of, I guess, the long version of his journey, and it was really good to see from him today.
Kind of along those same lines, what does the anatomy of the breakdown of a weekend like this look like? How much time do you spend looking at this? What do you carry forward from it?
Well, the good thing is we don't have a game this week, so not having that game this week is going to give you a lot of time to go back and watch video and kind of dissect it. It's like, okay, so we have the inning. What inning was it? It was probably the 8th inning. Probably the 8th inning where we give up 2 0-2 hits, right? How much of that is, so we give up 2 hits and 0-2 counts. Did we make a mistake on the pitch, or was it a really good swing? I'm going to guess we probably made mistakes on the pitches, right? We're probably in the middle of the plate. Okay, so that's an adjustment that we can make, and how much of it is when, Braden Reisdorf on Friday night throws a 94-mile-an-hour fastball inside, and the guy knuckles it like 74 miles an hour, third baseman said. It's a good pitch. The guy put a good swing on it. He executed the pitch. It just didn't go your way, right? Devin Taylor, it scorches 2 line drives today, and they catch both of them. I mean, what do you want to say? Like, he hit him 104 miles an hour right at somebody. It's like, So you live and you learn, but so it's like you're sometimes the balls just don't go your way, and then sometimes you throw an 0-2 breaking ball in the middle of the plate for a base hit. Two separate issues. So you have to go back and look at it and live and learn. But sometimes you tip your cap a little bit to did a good job, or they picked a pitch, or they did something they tipped, or whatever it was. Like something happened in the course of the game, and there's a lot of nuance to it, and you look up and it didn't go. But I would say quite a bit of feedback. Because if you just say, well, that was just all luck. Well, there wasn't just all luck. Somebody played well, but we also probably have gotten away with some things that you're not going to get away with when you play a great team that's playing great, and then now you get like the slap on the wrist, and now you go back, and you have to be humble enough to learn, but confident enough to know that you're still good. And so that's kind of where I'm at. It's like I'm humble enough to say, like, we got beat this weekend, but I'm very confident. We still have a very good team. We still had a great season. We just didn't have a good weekend, and you pick up and you move on.
Is it easier to? Sorry, no, I was going to say, is it easier to move into next weekend now, knowing that postseason's still on the line? It's kind of similar to before, but different. Is it easier than if, like last year, where you know you're out? Is it easier after getting your butts kicked to know you can pick yourself up and you've still got your biggest goal in front of you to make a regional where you're in a good spot for with an RPI in the 20s, versus if you get hammered last year, and the season's over till the Big Ten tournament unless you win it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I until this year, where it was like so much in my face, where it's like you have like regional projections, and like I have to address it, right? Like I have to talk about the team. I have to talk about it. It's coming out all the time. It's just not really a thing. Like from a coaching standpoint, it's not really a thing. From a player standpoint, it's not really a thing. It's just in the locker room, in the day-to-day operation, like making the adjustments to Hunter Jesse's swing is completely independent. Like there is no, that's what I'm thinking about. Like I'm looking at the swings today, and there's one or two guys I have in my notes, like I have to help one or two guys. I have to make some swing changes. And we've been talking about like, hey, maybe we should do this. And it was like, fix it now. I don't care about if we make a regional, awesome. I've said from the very beginning, I would love to finish in the top couple of the Big Ten. I'd love to play in the postseason. But more importantly today, I need to go fix so-and-so swing. And because if you fix it, like if you fix the swings, if you work on, look at stolen bases, right? The guy was probably out of third base yesterday. I think that was the first stolen base at third base we've given up all year. We're best in the Big Ten at limiting stolen bases. Like we can sit here and say all we want to about playing the postseason, not playing the postseason, but until you fix holding runners, it doesn't matter. You focus on the process and what you have to do, and that's why I tell the guys, like, don't look up and don't care. It doesn't matter. It's like it sounds bad, but it's like I don't care what anyone thinks. It doesn't matter, and neither can anyone else. Right? It's like you can't worry about what happens at the end. You can't worry about what anybody thinks. The only thing you can do is you can live and learn and adjust and get better. Because it's like if you're not in the arena, if you're not in the work every day, that's tell the kids, like, be confident in yourself and believe in yourself and do the work, and the rest of it takes care of itself.
This is kind of dependent on how the series turned out, but do you think the pause in conference play had any effect on guys maybe being kind of that punch in the mouth feeling, or no?
Yeah, I mean, it's not anyone's fault. It's not anyone's fault, but it's like it is like there is an adjustment period. There is an adjustment, and there's no excuse. You did the best that you can. We played Louisville 2 weeks ago and played great. And it's like there's an adjustment. There's an adjustment that you have to like reacclimate yourself, especially when you're playing that team like that. You have to readjust yourself to like the average fastball velocity is 92.5. All of a sudden it's like bang. The adjustment's like the 0-2 pitch that you leave down the middle to Maryland, like you don't get that back. The guy hits off the scoreboard, you don't get it back, right? So there is, like, I would be lying if I said there wasn't. Again, the teams that we've played, they're all having success. They're good teams. They've had success. Like, I'm not taking anything away from it, but there's an adjustment, there's an intensity, there's an aspect of it that there's always an adjustment to that.
One more. With Connor coming back out after about an hour-long rain delay, he walked two guys. Was that something that he said he wanted the ball, or did you give it to him?
I mean, he always wants it, and that was, you're right. I kind of joked with Rob where it's like we didn't. Normally the home team you kind of screw up the other team, and we kind of screw up ourselves. You know what I mean? It's like we delayed ourselves twice. It can't be helped. It's lightning. There's nothing you can do about it. But yeah, it was hard. And Connor, he's thrown in here and he stays warm. But there was just so much game left, and he's still. Whether you look at the game, you go Kraft, Yoho, and Foley, and then you figure it out from there. And you're hoping you can go like 4-3, 2, something like that, right? And so like Foley was the guy where you're hoping that he can get back through there one more time just because of the four seam. And so you go lefty sinker baller, righty sinker with the changeup, and then the four seam over the top, and you're hoping that he can still do it. And that's what and Coach Lamb made a great point that he said, keep your head up. And it's just hard. It's hard to sit down and play catch in here, and then all of a sudden like you're right back in the fray. And he competed the best he could. It's just. It happened. It's a really hard thing to do. It's a really, really hard thing to do. He's just been so good, and he felt good, and we're fortunate that we're home and we're inside and we're able to keep throwing and kind of stay warm. He wanted it, but you also felt like, there are times where guys kind of earn the right to go back and have some confidence in him. And I do want to clarify when I say like I don't care what anybody thinks. I didn't mean it in a negative way, like I don't care what anybody thinks. I mean like you can't worry about what anybody thinks you might do in the postseason or not do in the postseason, or what may happen or may not happen, and not you or anybody else's opinion. Just saying in general, as an athlete, you have to be, and as a coach, you have to be focused on what can I do in the next 1 hour, right now today that I can do to impact success, and then put a good plan together to attack that plan and grow. That's what I meant, right? You just can't worry about what may happen a month from now or 6 weeks from now, because we didn't get in this position by doing otherwise. We got in this position by being really good at putting a process together, at being really, really detail oriented and attacking it to the best of our abilities, putting our guys in positions to be successful, and they have. And that's what I told Coach Glant. He's upset, he's frustrated, and justified. Like, get it, but it's like, man, we made the same calls, we called the same pitches, we did the same lineup, and you called the same pitches in the same spots that you watched. He watched the last 8 games. He's watched every pitch. He's watched 10 hours of video this week. We threw the same pitches in the same spots that those guys saw last week and didn't score 35 runs, whatever it is. Like, sometimes it just doesn't work out the way you want to. So I wanted to clarify that, because that wasn't a shot at anybody. Just saying in general, when you're trying to organize your day, you just keep guys on the minutia of the moment.
Great. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, appreciate it. Thank you.
Take 5 or so questions for Devin.
Devin, you did actually have, in addition to the 2 home runs, which were awesome, you did actually have a couple lineouts as well that were just, obviously you're hitting the ball hard right at people, and you've had that a little bit recently. Just can you talk about, how you feel after that and how you recoup and come back at it?
I mean, I wouldn't say like I recruit, because I hit the ball hard and that's all I really asked for. Like, my goal was to hit line drives to the middle of the field. Maybe, and of course, it doesn't go to the middle of the field all the time, but like line drives are line drives. So that's like the success of it, basically.
It seemed like it was a swing at the time. You guys really, really needed a big time swing after losing the first 2 games. Kind of what was that joy like when you got back, or I guess just what was the emotion like when you got back to the dugout?
I mean, just like the hype of really knowing that we could steal a game, or we have the possibility, because we know we are a good team, even though we got swept this weekend. And we fought today. Like, we fought our hearts out, and it just didn't really happen to go our way, of course. So, yeah.
Does the week off with no midweek kind of serve as a reset for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna have an off day tomorrow, of course, and then we're gonna go right back to work from there. Yeah. So yeah.
The offense struggled at times at the plate. You had one of the better approaches. Maryland's pitching has been good, not great this year. What were you doing differently at the plate compared to some of your other battery mates, or not battery mates, but I mean people at the plate that didn't hit as well? What made it so strong for you compared to else?
I mean, I wouldn't say I didn't do anything different. Like, we all had our approaches. Like, results are results, and everybody doesn't get the best results or the results that they wanted. So
Overall, the team, appeared to play relatively well today after, the last 2 days. So can you just talk about what you guys talked about in the locker room and how you approached this particular game?
yeah, so like, I mean, we lost a series on Saturday, and then we came in today just like, of course we got to steal one. Like, we can't just like let ourselves down, like just play through the game like it doesn't really matter, because every game matters. Like, we're still second in the Big Ten, so every game still matters, and we made sure to put all of our hearts on the field and not leave no regret behind.
What's the challenge having to deal with not 1 but 2 weather delays throughout the game, kind of in relatively close succession to each other?
I wouldn't say it's a challenge, but of course, like, our bodies are going to get a little bit tight, but like we made sure to stay focused, like watch film on the pitchers that could possibly come in, and just stay engaged the whole time. So yeah.
It's finals week and you're wrapping up your first season here. Obviously, you've been fantastic in your freshman campaign on the field. How has it been an adjustment in your first year in college?
It's actually been better because like at my high school, I had to go from literally 8 to 3 every day. I couldn't leave early, and now like I have class here and then I have practice here. So it's a really big adjustment. And it's really helped me a lot. Just like being able to balance both worlds. Sorry.
Anything else?
Coach Mercer's talked about how just Maryland is simply better this weekend. I guess how do you guys keep your head up, especially as a younger group, and say like, hey, you know, we're still in a good spot. in this
Yeah, I
season?
mean, like you said, like they crushed the ball. Like they seen the ball like amazingly. Like I don't think, yeah, but basically like we'll focus like hitting like drills, like make sure we'll do like I don't even know how to say it, but like I'm sorry. Can I just like scratch that?
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Holy moly! I'm sorry. Oh man, that was awful. That was awful. Can you ask the question again?
Well, so Coach Mercer said that Maryland was just, you know, better this
Yeah.
weekend. I guess, you know, how do you guys keep your head up, especially as a younger group, and not get discouraged, considering you guys are still in a relatively good spot right now in the season?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like we still have 3 Big Ten series to prove what we are. And, like we've shown a lot, like proved everything. Of course, this weekend we didn't really like prove that we weren't like a better team. Like they just played better, of course. So, yeah, that's all I can say to that.
Awesome. Thanks, Devin.